Hello, and welcome back to the channel. Today we will be discussing how Russia got so far in the World Cup in 2018 despite not having very great players on their team. Let's get started. In 2018, the World Cup was held in Russia. Now, even though the World Cup was held in Russia, it didn't mean the home country would necessarily go far, as Russia did not have the best players on their team. However, the World Cup was held in Russia. To start off, Russia would beat Saudi Arabia, a team that was considered a dark horse in the World Cup. Russia didn't just beat Saudi Arabia though, they dominated, scoring 5 goals to Saudi Arabia's 0 to win the match 5-0. Fun fact, both the Saudi Arabian Prince Mohammed bin Salman and the Russian President Putin were at the game, both of whom had a good laugh. According to game statistics, Russia tended to shoot for goals instead of passing, while Saudi Arabia had the majority of the possession of the game. Russia had 7 on-target goals that game, while Saudi Arabia had 0. It was a dominant performance by Russia, surprising most of its fans and doubters. Moving on, in the second game of the World Cup, Russia would be facing Egypt. Now, Egypt was a very big dark horse and were considered by many as underappreciated in a team which would surprise everyone. Egypt had players like Mohamed Salah and Ahmed Fathy, who were top caliber players. Russia, on the other hand, had a dominant win over Saudi Arabia, but they still didn't have the top caliber players in order for them to win such big games. Russia's main player at the moment was Igor Akinfeev, who was also the Russian captain. He was their goalkeeper and he was known for being one of the best. As a result, Russia didn't have the biggest expectations going into this match. But they surprised the world once again. First half remained scoreless as both teams could not score a goal. In the second half though, Ahmed Fathy, the Egyptian captain, scored an own goal to put Russia in the lead. 12 minutes later, Cheryshev scored a goal, his third goal of the tournament. Finally, Duba scored the goal to secure the win for Russia in the 62nd minute, the third goal for Russia. Mohamed Salah would score a goal from a penalty, but it was too little, too late. Russia ended up beating the biggest dark horse in the tournament 3-1 in a pretty dominant performance. Afterward, Russia would go on to get swept by Uruguay 3-0 with Cheryshev scoring an own goal and Suarez and Cavani scoring a goal. Russia did not let their loss to Uruguay affect them though. In their first round of 16 match, Russia would be facing a very strong Spanish team with great veterans who were seeking revenge and ultimately aimed to end their careers with a World Cup trophy. Some players who played for Spain during this time included Sergio Ramos, Diego Costa, David Silva, Isco, Koke, Sergio Busquets, Gerard Piqué, Jordi Alba, and even David De Gea. By the way, Andre Iniesta was the substitute. Iniesta would be the best player on the Russian team in hindsight if he would play for Russia. Anyways, the MVP of this match was Igor Akinfeev. There's a reason why Akinfeev was the captain of the Russian team and why he's considered one of the best goalkeepers. Just to put it bluntly, Spain had 9 shots on target while Russia only had 1. The only goal Russia conceded was an own goal by Ignashevich. On the other hand, Russia scored a goal against Spain when Duba ended up making a penalty after Piqué had a handball. Both teams would go into penalties after overtime, only scoring 1 goal throughout the whole match, and Russia ended up being the victor, beating Spain 4-3 in penalties. Honestly, this might have been one of the craziest upsets in games I have ever seen. Russia statistically just looked way worse than Spain, and they still somehow pulled off the win. And the best player, of course, was the goalkeeper Akinfeev. Without him, Russia probably would have lost 9-1. Russia continues to the quarterfinals now. In the quarterfinals, Russia met a very strong Croatian team with players like Luka Modric, Ivan Rakitic, Ivan Perisic, and more. Even though Russia was considered to be heavily outskilled by Croatia, more people believed in Russia now, especially after what they did against Spain. The game started off with Cheryshev scoring one of the best goals in the tournament to put Russia ahead 1-0. Kramaric would continue by tying the game at 1 apiece after scoring a header goal. After 90 minutes, both teams were tied at 1, and Russia and Croatia would go into overtime. After 10 minutes into overtime, Domagoj Vida would score a great goal to put Croatia ahead by 1. But, by miracle, in the 115th minute, Fernandez would score a great goal to make Russia tie 2-2. After the second overtime, both teams were still tied and they would go into penalties. In short, Fernandez did screw up his penalty in order to give Croatia the lead, but he was an important factor in that game, as he scored the last minute shot to tie the game at 2 apiece. Croatia would eventually go on and beat Russia and get silver medal, losing to France in the finals. In general though, Akinfeev was the main player in the game. In fact, Akinfeev is the main reason why Russia got as far as they did. Both Cheryshev and Akinfeev had great World Cups, which ultimately made Russia get as far as they did. Cheryshev would be tied with the second most goals in the World Cup at 4 behind Harry Kane, who is number 1 with 6 goals. While Akinfeev, well, if you look at the footage in the World Cup, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyways, these two players ultimately carried the team far in the World Cup. Because these players did not play in the Euro 2021, they ultimately made Russia a very bad team again. Russia also had home court advantage in the World Cup, which might have slightly favored them. But I don't think it favored them enough to beat such great teams. In conclusion, these are the reasons why Russia got so far in the World Cup in 2018. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Until next time. Bye.